The hedgehog, Britain's favourite wild mammal, is in trouble. In the 1950s, there were believed to be 30 million of them here in the UK. Now it's thought there's only 1 million. But in recent years, in urban areas, there are signs their numbers are levelling out. It could be our help is making a big difference. Over the last few years, I've spent time with Anne Brummer, who set up and runs the Amazing Grace campaign, specifically to help hedgehogs as part of the Harper Asprey Wildlife Rescue Centre. They've saved thousands of our prickly pals. And over the next hour, we're going to look back on some of these stories, along with surprising new cases, and meet some incredible heroes of the hog world around the country. But most important of all, we're going to show how each and every one of us can play a part in preventing our hogs from becoming extinct. So, Anne, hedgehogs have different challenges through the year, don't they, depending on the seasons. What things will mostly bring them in here in the winter?
We're seeing many things. A lot of it's to do with people clearing up their garden this time of the year. So we get a lot of nests and pre-hibernation nests disturbed. But we're also seeing the rain having a dramatic effect on them. We're getting torrential rains here now. So a lot of the youngsters we're seeing are coming in really almost drowned. We've got 3 here that have actually been washed out of their nest, kind of down a hill. And if you get wet and you can't get dry, as you know, with all the stuff that you get up to, that is not a good place to be.
Shall we have a little look?
Yeah. You get this one out and see. So this is a youngster, as you can see, but you can see underneath just how furry they are. So when this gets wet, this is almost impossible to get dry again.
And if they're saturated, that leaches the heat away from the body, and they have to burn off fat reserves to shiver and keep warm, and then they haven't got enough fat to hibernate.
Yeah, and they're kind of doubly hit because they've been washed out of their nest, so there's no safe dry nest to go back to either. So they're really in a lot of trouble.
So what can we all do to help hogs through the winter?
I think just think in your garden before you do anything. Clearing up leaves, like traditionally a time when we remove the leaves. The hedgehogs will be nesting in there and you're clearing it up and you're removing not only the bedding that they might want, but they might actually already be hibernating there.
And if you have accidentally uncovered a nest or a hibernacular, what do you do then?
If they're actually hibernating, it takes a hedgehog about 20 minutes to come out of hibernation. But once it does, it's used a lot of energy, so it's hard for it to get back without being fed. So we'd always recommend that you get in contact with a rescue to take a look at them. And youngsters like this, it's a very simple treatment, really. 24 hours of bit of rehydration, TLC and drying off, and they're fit and well, as you can see. This is a really active hedgehog, but it now doesn't have that nest to go back to. So we have to look at overwintering or a really specialised soft release for them.
So if you have any sense that there could be hedgehogs using your garden, you're very lucky. Make sure that you always think about them and their safety. And these aren't the only challenges they face in the winter. In the winter months, a hedgehog's often looking for the perfect nest to hibernate in. A bonfire that's been standing a while ticks a lot of hedgehog boxes. It's warm, comfortable, and a hidden environment for hogs to sleep in. If you get the chance to move your bonfire before you light it, it could help save a hedgehog. Just take it to bits and move it a few feet. You may find some sleeping hogs that would otherwise been hurt or worse. Also, you could light it at just one side as an extra precaution, giving hogs the chance to escape from the other side. Have a lovely fire, but always think about the hogs. October and November are when hedgehogs begin to hibernate, and they need to pile on an extra 30% of body weight to survive. Not easy when insect life is disappearing.
Although hedgehogs hibernate for 4 or 5 months, it doesn't actually mean they're asleep for the whole of that time. They often get up after 4 or 5 days and mooch around looking for food. They need a lot of energy to go back to sleep, so it's really important to feed them through this period. They also will often change location in the garden to something maybe more comfortable, so it's important to leave bedding out and nesting boxes for them.
During hibernation, a hedgehog needs to conserve energy. It does this by reducing its heart rate to just 20 beats per minute. It slows its breathing to 1 breath every few minutes. And it will also feel cold to the touch, as its body temperature drops to only 10 degrees above freezing. By March, a hedgehog's fat reserve is running low, prompting it to come out of hibernation. It's often lost up to a third of its body weight, so a good scoff is high on a hog's agenda. But for some young hedgehogs, hibernation can prove deadly.
Hedgehogs have a second litter in autumn, and it's a bit of an evolutionary flaw because we're seeing more and more of these babies come through, but they're unable to survive hibernation because of their weight. So here we have ones about 650 grams, and he can easily hibernate. And this one is a juvenile, one of this year's babies, late autumn baby, and she's 300 grams. The cold isn't a problem for her. If you do not feed her, she will not survive in your garden through the winter. So just keep feeding. And they're really cute. Look at her little face.
I need a blue flashing light and sirens, that's what I need. I can see a hedgehog right in front of me. It'll be a case of just cutting it for now and seeing if it'll walk off. And we might be able to get the netting out without having to take it back to the centre. So hedgehog is free. All right, baby, come on. That animal would have died if we hadn't have interfered, or somebody hadn't have interfered, and now it's going to go back and get a second chance. We are making a difference, and the fact that we can do it and get it back to the wild that's our sole purpose at Wildlife Aid, to get them back out to the wild to live a natural life.
Day out for Help the Animals, Tuesday at 8 on Channel 5.
It's incredible to think that these little creatures have outlived the woolly mammoths and the saber-toothed cats. They've been around for millions of years. We all hope they'll be around for millions more. But the world is fraught with dangers for animals like this that we all need to be aware of. Ponds and swimming pools, for example, can be deadly. Despite being great swimmers, if there aren't any escape routes, hogs will become tired and ultimately drown. Chartered horticulturalist and patron of the British Hedgehog Preservation Society, David Dominey, has some simple tips for hog escape routes.
The one thing is to make sure you've got a ramp or something that can carry the hedgehog back out. What not to do is what's in here at the moment. There's a plank that's been put in. The grade's okay, but it's an old bit of wood. In addition to that, it's just going straight into the water. But think about it and remember, hedgehogs, edgehogs. So as soon as they fall into the water, they'll swim, but they'll just keep swimming around the edge. So the hedgehogs will almost be getting under it and not finding it. The best thing to do is, if you're putting a plank in, to run it parallel with the sides of the pond so the hedgehogs can find it and come out. I wouldn't use a rickety one like this. Get yourself a decent, solid plank. Cut it to length so you can wedge it if you've got a wall opposite. If it's wedged in tight, you know it's not going to slip into the pond. If you're concerned, just get hold of a batten, screw that onto the back, and it acts as a lip to hold it onto the side, which is perfect. The gentler the slope, the easier it is for the hedgehogs to get out. If you can't help it and you've got to put one in that's slightly steeper, put a few batten runs to enable the hedgehog to get some grip to be able to get out of the pond. Having ponds is a major plus in the garden. Having ways for your hedgehogs to get out makes it even better.
Netting like this is another major hazard for hedgehogs. It could be football goalposts, it could be garden netting. It's a big, big problem. At Tingy Winkle's Wildlife Hospital in Aylesbury, head vet nurse Sharon Jacobs had a room full of hogs who suffered from entanglement.
So this one was caught up in football netting. And if I just can uncurl, and you can see where the football netting has gone round here, and obviously round this back of this leg here as well. As the nettings were caught, they made such a restriction. It's like if you put a tourniquet on your arm or something like that, eventually your skin will start to die off. But the only good thing about this is his legs are all fine and all that sort of stuff. It literally is just the wounds that need to be sorted out.
Some hogs need additional treatment.
Right, you ready, Tilly? You're going to have your bath again.
Tilly needed hydrotherapy, to strengthen the muscles in her damaged leg.
She come in with an injury to her right hind leg. What she's doing, she's holding it underneath and trying to get hedgehogs to try and walk because they like to curl up in a prickly ball. So with the hydrotherapy is one of the best ways to do it. As you can see, she's a very good swimmer. It doesn't cause them any stress. With Tilly, we've been doing hydrotherapy for the last, coming up to 2 weeks now. She's much improved the way she's using this right hind. I'm not sure I'd say she enjoys it, but it definitely gets her to use that leg.
Tilly and the other hedgehogs made a full recovery, but their injuries could have been easily avoided.
If you do have a net or football net in your garden, in the evenings, if you can just pick it up or lift it up, so at least the little hedgehogs can't get caught in it.
And if you have to use garden netting, raise it 8 inches off the ground so a hog can pass safely under. Wildlife hospitals are on the front line of animal care, and often this means rescues.
Up there, 9.
I went on a call-out with Anne Brummer, where I witnessed firsthand the danger drains can be if they aren't fully secured.
Oh, well done. Oh.
Yeah, I know, he's covered in it.
Oh, how did you get it out so quick?
She's the best.
Barbara found the poor hog.
Oh, no,
bless
is that oil? Oh, that smells absolutely horrific.
Well, because it's the drain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's lucky that I saw her yesterday because I don't normally come around this side.
It's
and I thought,
incredibly
the
lucky.
grid's off the drain. And I went to put it, oh, there's a hedgehog.
OK, well, I mean, you can see what a danger this is. I mean, this is a really big hog, and it's fallen into a drain that's no bigger than that. And down at the bottom is just brown, stinky nastiness that hog has been in, presumably overnight, where you have, without question, saved its life.
I'm going to take her back and check her over.
Yeah.
Because she needs cleaning up anyway,
Yes.
and I don't know what sort of oils we've got in there.
No.
So we might even
Okay.
get her back to you today. We'll see how she gets
Okay.
on.
Brilliant.
Hopefully we'll see you a bit later on.
OK, then.
We've got to get him out. I can't leave him now.
Loose or broken drain covers really can be death traps for our prickly pals. So make sure you check them regularly, especially if you know you have hogs nearby.
There he comes. Hey, we got him. We saved the hedgehog.
Now, no animal can survive without water, and in the summer it can be hard to come by. Ponds, pools and puddles dry up, and hedgehogs can get dehydrated. Amazing Grace Rescue Centre sees hundreds of hedgehogs suffering from these exact problems, and female Chris was one of the worst affected.
A healthy hedgehog is round like a football. Chris's severely sunken appearance meant she was in desperate need of fluid. If you find a hedgehog like this, take it to your nearest rescue centre immediately.
Water's needed for all the functions in the body. It's the one that helps you digest your food and churn it into energy. It's the one that keeps all your organs flowing, your blood pumping. It is absolutely essential. It's the one thing none of us can do without.
To rehydrate Chris, Anne injected her with a saline solution, which is a mixture of salt and water.
OK, she's not going to like this. It's not that pleasurable for them, but it is essential. In between the prickles and the skin, because of how their body works, there's like a cavity that we're aiming for. And it's a very fast way of getting fluids into an animal that's basically collapsed. If you're a hedgehog and you aren't able to find water, this is going to be the result. And this is what we're seeing time and time again.
It's so easy to stop this happening and give hedgehogs the hydration they so desperately need. The simplest way is to leave water out in your garden. Put pebbles in a shallow dish and fill it with water. The stones stop the liquid evaporating in the heat so quickly and will also prevent a baby hog from drowning if it falls in.
Luckily, Chris made a full recovery. She's had babies, been returned to the wild, and is hopefully having a happy hoggy time right now. When it comes to living at large, there's one particular hedgehog in North Yorkshire that's a regular celebrity.
Meet Ms. Twinkle, a very rare albino hedgehog. Only 1 in 100,000 hedgehogs are born with the recessive gene that means they have no melanin pigment in their skin, eyes and spines. Some people believe that albino hedgehogs shouldn't be released into the wild, as standing out from the crowd makes them easy prey. But Julie from the Wildlife Orphanage, who nursed Miss Twinkle back to good health, takes a different view.
There's Miss Twinkle. She was very poorly and very small, but now she's huge. She's massive, and she's gone into a release garden in New York and doing very well. And they're not predated any more than other hedgehogs because they get dirty very quickly. Miss Twinkle is the proof that they are doing well in the wild. She is definitely holding her own in the hedgehog world.
Every night, Miss Twinkle heads into the same garden for her dinner. In fact, rain or shine, she never misses a meal. And woe betide any other hog who gets in her way. By lowering its head, this one even appears to submit to the large female. Miss Twinkle is living proof that albinos get along just fine. The glow-in-the-dark hedgehog even brought the whole village together.
I think the albino bit really captured everybody's interest because, you know, who's ever heard of an albino hedgehog?
In fact, I didn't even know they existed before.
I had absolutely no idea that there are literally only a handful in the whole country, so aren't we lucky?
But Miss Twinkle likes to remain a bit of an enigma.
Not many people have seen her, but she is there.
We haven't actually seen Miss Twinkle.
No, I haven't seen her.
Jane is one of the lucky few who has seen Miss Twinkle in the flesh.
On one particular night, I came to let the dogs out. I looked down, shone the torch, and lo and behold, Miss Twinkle was before me. So absolutely beautiful in the moonlight, you could see. She was lovely white colour, very unusual.
There are thought to be only around 100 albino hedgehogs in the whole of Britain. So imagine everyone's surprise when another one was found just up the road from Miss Twinkle. This is Jericho.
He is very special, is Jericho. He was ever so poorly when he came in. He was found as a hoglet, only a few weeks old. He was only weighing 88 grams. He was covered in ticks. So we removed all the ticks and he's now a healthy 530 grams. He's a true albino. He's got pink eyes and pink nose and pink feet.
And little Jericho will soon be following Miss Twinkle into the wilds of Yorkshire.
To think that we might possibly have a second albino released in the area would be absolutely fantastic.
Well, as far as I'm aware, there are none down south, so it must be a northern thing.
Yes, definitely.
Let's hope this rare hog is ready for the stardom that awaits him.
Jericho's definitely got Miss Twinkle as a role model to aspire to in the wild world.
Cruelty and distress, which you may find upsetting.
As a new dad, I'm thinking more and more about wanting my kids to grow up in a world that has all the wildlife I've always loved. And hedgehogs are a big part of that. Whether it's their secretive, snuffling nature, their bright eyes, or the fact that they are nature's greatest gardener, hedgehogs have got us hooked. And they have got a future, but more and more, only with human help. Hedgehogs are truly unique. They're the only spiny mammal in the UK with as many as 7,000 spikes covering their body. Each spine is made from keratin, the same stuff as our fingernails. They last about a year, drop out, and a replacement grows. I guess an obvious question is, when do hedgehogs get their spines? They're not born with them. That would be really sore for poor mum. Instead, they're just below the surface of the skin and they start to break through a couple of hours after birth. To begin with, they're quite soft. I mean, right now they just look like little toilet brushes, but eventually they'll start to toughen up and become that perfect protection, almost like a suit of armour for the hedgehogs. When a hedgehog feels threatened, they'll use this suit of armour by rolling into an unappetising prickly ball. Luckily, it's enough to deter most predators. But sometimes our pets can be persistent.
If your dog is a bit boisterous and you sense that this could be a problem, then just before you let them out at night, make some noise, turn a light on, give hogs a chance to scarper.
Hedgehog numbers in rural areas have plummeted over recent years. One glimmer of hope is that urban hogs appear to be on the increase. That means that making our gardens hedgehog-friendly is now more crucial than ever. And one of our favourite actors is leading the way.
We're off to feed the hogs, the wonderful hogs of Wigmore. We're off to... I think they're eating better than I am, you know. Certainly better than the cat.
John Challis may be best known for his portrayal of Boise in one of the nation's best-loved sitcoms.
There we are.
But lesser known is his soft spot for our prickly pals.
We have a very old cat who doesn't mind some of his food going to his hedgehog friends.
His passion began with a childhood visit to a family friend in Somerset.
And she found some abandoned hoglets, and they were the tiniest little things you ever saw in your life, you know, and I just couldn't, I was riveted by them, absolutely fascinated by the little pieces. Then it looked up at me, with his little button nose, and he just went, and I've been fascinated by them ever since.
John's 5-acre grounds surrounding his Shropshire house are a hedgehog haven.
In fact, it's very easy to help hedgehogs. Don't make your garden too tidy. And as you can see, I followed that advice. Perfect excuse for not doing any work at all. No, but seriously, they need cover, they need somewhere to hide until they come out at night. And they need to forage, and they need to travel, you know, to find their food. But it's something everyone can do. But just leaving the largest compost heap in the world for them to live in. There must be hundreds of them in there. I mean, it's a hedgehog hotel here.
John is so fond of the nation's favourite wild mammal that 10 years ago he became a patron for the British Hedgehog Preservation Society. One of their key messages is small changes in your back gardens will make a big difference. A major problem in urban areas is we stick fences up everywhere. By simply cutting a 13-centimetre hole, you're creating a hedgehog highway. Over 9,000 gardens have already been connected. But if all 15 million UK gardens were joined up, they'd create the biggest nature reserve in Britain.
And making your garden hedgehog-friendly is something the whole family can get involved in. While you're making a hedgehog highway, the kids can be making a hedgehog home.
Okay, now we can decorate it. Do you want to decorate it? Can you draw a hedgehog? Yeah? Ah.
Do you want to put the food in?
It's as simple as a storage box with a hole cut out, small enough to prevent larger animals getting in. The hogs can drink, eat, and relax in peace.
Hedgehogs arrive at rescue centres for all sorts of reasons. Their fate lies in the hands of those caring for them.
At Amazing Grace Rescue Centre, 2 casualties arrived with unusual problems.
Right, this one's just been brought in, going round and round and round in circles. And she's actually sent the video through, which is really interesting. They just go round and round and round on the spot, can you see?
Yeah. So we've got a couple of things that might be. One
Yeah.
is obviously RTA, some sort of accident.
Yeah.
And I've had one a few years ago that actually had ear mites in it and that caused the same problem.
The second casualty was a young female called Dodgy. There was a problem with her back legs.
Lynn, come and have a look at this. There's not a leg on that side either, is there?
She's got no rear legs.
No, they aren't there. Bless her.
Both hedgehogs needed medical attention. I went with Anne to the vets. At Windlebrook Veterinary Clinic, Letitia was ready to see the 2 hogs.
Hello.
Hello.
We have
What have we
2
got here?
patients for you.
Right.
We can't see any back legs
Okay.
on this little angel.
Let's have a look.
Letitia needed to anaesthetise Dodgy so she could get a good look at her.
Oh dear, that doesn't look good.
It doesn't, does it?
So we do have a traumatic injury.
Yeah. This is likely an infection. This is their tail.
Oh no, look at
This
that.
is a little stump of
Yeah.
her leg. Yeah.
You can smell it, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like, doesn't it, either predation or a strimmer injury.
It was a tragic outcome for Dodgy. Even if the infection could have been treated, with no back legs, life would have been a constant struggle.
She'd be unable to move. She can't climb. She can't get out of water. And she can't groom herself. She just would not survive in the wild in that state.
The kindest option was to put her to sleep.
I guess with so many hedgehogs coming through your doors and so many having positive outcomes, it's inevitable that every once in a while one's going to come through that just can't be saved.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad, but potentially we might have a bit more hope from our other hedgehog here.
This hedgehog was also anaesthetised, so Letitia could check her over. Anne thought the hog was either suffering from irritating ear mites or had a more serious head trauma.
Oh yeah, that is one
we know all
doozy hog.
So
that's the sweetest sound.
It is, isn't it? To Joe, it feels fine. You can try to open if you want to hold it for me. Yes, this, with quite a few missing.
I've never felt a hog like that, just completely relaxed.
The feel of his legs.
I love the snoring.
What do you think?
It doesn't seem to have any big problems.
All was looking positive for the little hog. There were no signs of injury and X-rays showed no head trauma.
I have never seen that before. A hog absolutely sparko, snoring away quite happily. Do you know what? I think that, being as we're in this particular situation, that we should call this one Hope.
I think that's a great idea.
You are our Hope, little one, so we need you to do really, really well, because we haven't had the best of days.
No.
Luckily, further investigations did indeed reveal that Hope was suffering from very annoying ear mites. She made a full recovery and returned to the wild.
To get even more involved in taking care of hedgehogs, you can join up with your local rescue centre and effectively become a hog foster parent. If a hedgehog can't be released where it was found, it can be put into your garden in a specially made enclosure. This is known as a soft release.
I went with Anne to meet Trevor, who'd volunteered his garden and himself for this soft release programme. But first, we needed to make sure Trevor would be a good hog foster dad and his garden a good hog pad.
We are in desperate need of release sites for our hedgehogs because the soft release process is quite slow.
Being involved in this is a big commitment, as you'll need to keep the hogs in a large run for 5 weeks, so they get used to their new surroundings.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Trevor.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Very well.
I already think this looks pretty good.
I
What
think
do you reckon?
it does. I think it looks fantastic.
Do you think it could be hog heaven?
I think it is, for sure.
Hedgehogs were regular visitors to Trevor's garden for over 30 years. But with their numbers continuing to fall, he hadn't seen any for the past 3 years.
So, Trevor, why are you interested in getting hedgehogs back into your garden?
Because we miss them. I mean, they're wonderful little things, aren't there? There isn't anything like them. They're friendly, they cause no problem, and we're just animal lovers, so hey, we miss them, and we'd like to get them back again.
Well, we can fix that for you.
We can.
Wow, that would be great.
On first inspection, the garden looked perfect, with lots of covered areas for the hogs to nest and rest in, and insects had clearly been munching on the plants, so the hedgehogs would have lots of grubs to feast on.
More and more we're seeing that they need lots of different areas to feel safe in, and certainly when there's babies around. And this would be pretty perfect. I mean, it looks great. You've got native flowers here, you've obviously got lots of insects and things in.
So there's lots of potential sites for nests. I mean, under the shed would be perfect, wouldn't it?
It would. It'd be awesome.
It's a very multi-dimension garden. I like that. Lots of spaces to move, to hide and to feed.
And that, to me, Anne, looks like a
Brick wall.
good spot for a run.
Fantastic place for a run.
So the idea is, Anne, that you would build the run here, you would introduce some young hedgehogs or ones that are recovering from injuries, leave them there until they can become accustomed to the area, and then they run free.
I know, it'll be perfect for them.
With Trevor and his garden approved, the Amazing Grace team could get building the enclosure that would become home to 3 hedgehogs for the next 5 weeks. And to say Trevor was excited is a bit of an understatement.
What do you think of the run?
What do I think of the run? Well, we discussed what we were going to do, and this just is far beyond what I thought. This is just quite amazing.
The idea is that the run is a permanent fixture, and Trevor can help hedgehogs every year. His first hog residents were Bill, Paula, and Georgina. After being fully rehabilitated at the Amazing Grace Rescue Centre, they were ready for their next chapter.
Oh my goodness. Who do we have?
This is Bill.
How can you tell Bill from the
Well,
others?
I can tell because he's a pig and he's the biggest. Now, they're really prickly.
I know. Ouch. Yeah, I see what you mean. You must have tougher hands than me.
Well, I think I'm probably immune to them over the years. This is about 4 months old.
And how big will he?
He'll grow a bit bigger than this. He weighs about 650 grams at the moment, but actually he's a little bit chubby. But once he's been digging about in here and moving around and he's out in your garden...
He'll be exercising and losing some of it.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Look, he's had enough now of sitting here,
Yeah, he
being a
wants
good
to
little
escape.
boy. And he wants to go in the run, so should we pop him in there?
I think we should, yes. He really wants to get loose.
Bless him.
Next was Paula,
Here we go, Paula. In you go.
followed by her sister Georgina.
So, Trevor, have I made you happy?
Yes. What a silly question. They are gorgeous.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It certainly is.
These are
Wow.
going to do wonders in your garden, and your garden is going to do wonders for them. So should we pop her in to join our friends?
I think you should.
Whilst Bill made himself comfortable in the corner, the more inquisitive girls checked out every inch of their new home. And if Bill wouldn't move, they simply used him to their advantage. It was an exciting time for both hog and human. And with the girls still exploring, Bill sensibly headed to bed. It was the perfect start to their new life. And just 5 weeks later, they were released to become the wild hogs they were meant to be.
Here that's made you think that maybe helping hedgehogs is something you might want to do, and found some tips and tricks for yourself. With your help, it is entirely possible that this fabulous animal could still have a future.
And for a quick reminder as to how you can help, we've put together 5 points that are really easy to follow.
Number 1 is access and egress. Fences split up the territory that a hedgehog has to forage in, so having a little hole in your fence could well enable it to move in and out of your garden. Hint number 2 is slugs and bugs. These little wonders love to feed on invertebrates, so getting bugs to come into your garden with things like nectar-rich flowers is really important. More important, please don't use slug pellets, because that will end up with our hogs getting harmed. Third tip is nest and rest. Hedgehogs need somewhere to hibernate through the winter, but also a place that they can lie up during the day. So have a few places around your garden that are a bit wild, maybe a log pile, potentially even a hedgehog home, all of which are going to be prime real estate for one of these little guys. Next up is drink or drown. Dehydration is a serious problem, particularly for young hedgehogs in the summer, so having some water out they can drink is important. But if you have a pond, make sure that any hog that falls in can get out again. They're great swimmers, but if they get trapped in a pond, eventually it's going to be all over. Our final tip is to remove hazards. Your garden can be the perfect place for a hedgehog, or it can be potential hell. Make sure that you cover up drains, don't have netting lying around. If you're going to trim your garden, be very, very careful where you're doing it. And setting light to a bonfire in autumn, make sure you check through it before you do it, because otherwise one of these guys could be inside.
And your chance to help the animals continues with the Yorkshire Vets Donkey Day Out, brand new tomorrow at 8 here on Channel 5.